All right, so let's talk about ways to put together criteria to create multiple criteria. Okay? The older view of IO psychology was that job performance was somehow a unidimensional thing, that you could somehow hone in on it in just one way. But nowadays it's like, no, 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 no. It's multifaceted and multidimensional. And I mean, just very vaguely, number of units produced per hour it's important in performance, but if you're disrupting your coworkers and dropping down their performance, well, then that's got to be part of the criterion, right? I mean, even though it's not really part of the performance per se. So we'll talk about, these intangibles, sometimes tangibles, but sometimes intangibles that are going to be incorporated into these composite criterion. A weighted combination, okay? There was 8 factors that were created that would account for performance on every job. These 8 are like, if you want to talk about what job performance is, shall we say, who's a good worker, quote, good. Well, these 8 categories here will incorporate all aspects of good. Now, some jobs wouldn't incorporate all 8 of these, but in some way, shape, or form, all 8 of these are part of. At any time you say good worker, you must be referring to one of these 8 categories of performance. How about that? Okay. And so, job-specific task proficiency. Do you know your actual job? Well, duh, that seems pretty central. Non-job specific tasks. So it's not specific to your job, but it's necessary to perform it anyway. Written and oral communication skills. Yeah, I tell everybody, and if I just put together the welcome video yesterday, so it's still fresh in my mind. But I'm telling you, I told you in the welcome video, no, this is not an English class. Yes, writing always matters, okay? Because written and oral communication skills are going to be a component of all job performance, all job success. It's everywhere, okay? Demonstrating effort. I like that, okay? Maintaining personal discipline, right? Actually waiting until 5 o'clock to clock out. Yeah, that's part of job performance. Facilitating peer and team performance. We'll talk about those more towards the end here. Supervision. Do you supervise well? Management administration. And so, as I say, a good worker. And anytime you're going to talk about good worker, it must fall into one of these 8 categories. Okay? So, if performance is multidimensional, what we're going to do is make these, because we want to make a simple decision. Should I hire this person or not hire this person? That's ultimately the decision we want to make, a very simple one. So how do you combine them? A composite criterion. And so if you're going to put together multiple criteria and create a composite, should you weight each component equally? Is it such that, say, for example, written and oral communication skills are exactly as important as demonstrating effort? Probably not. Different jobs, it's going to be weighted differently, right? I mean, these would have a different differential impact on success. So here's a very interesting example here. Okay, for administrative assistant. I don't know where this comes from. But take a look. There are going to be 6 criterion: punctuality, performance quality, interpersonal performance, leadership behaviors, okay? Things like this. And let's say there's 2 different decisions that have to be made. Should this person be promoted or should this person be terminated, okay? And so both of these decisions are yes-no decisions. But these 2 decisions are going to take the same 6 criterion and weight them differently. So look, punctuality, okay? For promotion to supervisor, if you're not punctual, you don't get promoted, period. It's just not even part of the question, okay? Why would it be? Clearly, though, punctuality is part of the termination decision, because if you start to be tardy on a regular basis, yeah, we're going to fire you, okay? And so we see that they're going to weight the same 6 criteria in different ways to make different decisions, okay? And these criterion, though here we might have, this set of, wrong slide. We might have these weights and stuff like this. What might happen is that, let's say, for example, criterion weights for promotion. Maybe it might be criterion weights for first promotion. Then criterion weights for second promotion would need to change, right? Because clearly, if you're going from, administrative assistant to supervisor, and then supervisor, I don't know, to manager, even though you're doing the same promotion decision, clearly you'd have to change which qualities need to go with it. And so dynamic criterion is the recognition that this target called who should I promote does in fact move as time goes on. Criterion can be categorized into objective or subjective. Objective categories are those that are non-judgmental, they are quantitative, they are quantified, okay? The supervisor, the manager, the person making decisions just needs to click, count them, right? Tally them up, measure them in some way. And so absences, turnovers, productivity. Well, the most typical objective is, of course, productivity. Number of cars sold per month or something like this, okay? And so it's usually you find that these objective numerical things are probably not appropriate for managerial positions because it's like, well, we'll talk about managerial positions and how subjectively you need to be. But we find these objective criteria, which are just like cut and dry. You were late 10 times, you're fired. I mean, it's just like that. But it doesn't take situational constraints. Oh, this week my child has been sick, and so I couldn't get the child to, I couldn't take my child to school, and so I had to spend an extra hour in rush hour traffic to drop my kid over at a very special daycare for 6 children, and so that's why I was late this week. See, objective criterion is like, you were late 5 times, go on, right? They just don't take situations into account. Okay? So the objective criterion examples, like we just sort of said, absences, latencies, turnovers, grievances, number of customer complaints, I love that, productivity. And so we often hear these things like when we work, let's say, for example, I don't know, maybe sometimes I buy my furniture at Nebraska Furniture Mart. Don't tell anybody, okay? But what happens is when the salesperson is done, they'll always give me like a link to a website that says, if you were satisfied with my performance, can you go there. And so clearly, this is part of the objective criteria for some of the decisions made at Nebraska Furniture Mart. I mean, it's got to be what it is. Subjective criteria are inevitable, by the way. Objective and subjective, inevitably, they're just like, quality of work, okay, or something like this. I have to use objective and subjective criteria when I'm grading you all, okay? Objective criteria, number of multiple choice questions completed. Subjective criteria, quality of essay, right? So the very exam that you should be taking pretty soon, because I'm doing topic 4 right now. So the very exam you're going to be taking very soon involves both objective and subjective criterion, and inevitably we must use them all, okay? Clearly subjective, where am I? Subjective, you silly naughty thing, there it is, right? No. Subjective criterion are judgmental. They're subject to biases, attitudes, beliefs. I'll be honest, I recognize this. I try very hard. Whenever I'm grading papers or essays on the exam or something, I make extra effort to go out of my way to make sure I do not, in fact, know the name of the person that I am grading. Okay? I try very hard to avoid that so that as I'm grading them, I can hopefully remove biases, beliefs, and attitudes. Okay? Hopefully. Let's see. Hopefully I did a good job. So, we're going to talk about this notion of task performance, which is actually, getting the job done, number of units produced, amount of waste, etc., etc. But then we can talk about this contextual performance. And I kind of mentioned this yesterday. Listen to me. What do you know yesterday? I kind of talked about this in topic 3 when I had said sometimes these skills, the things that women bring to the workforce are not always part of the criterion used for evaluation. Okay, so as I said, one worker, if a female worker sees another worker that is stumbling and having a hard time, they are more likely to spontaneously go and say, "Can I help you get this done?" Meanwhile, what this does is take that worker's productivity down. Their task performance, number of units produced per hour, will decrease because they went and helped another employee. And this is an important, very, very, very valuable thing to the organization, to help workers that are stumbling. And that's what contextual performance is about, or pro-social organizational performance. Those that are performed by employees that help a larger social environment, a larger organizational environment. It's, if task performance is goals scored or something like that, I'm thinking hockey or soccer or something. Contextual performance is something like assists, right? Assisting the goal. You didn't actually make the goal, so it doesn't count as your task performance, but without your assistance, the goal wouldn't have been scored, okay? And so the idea is that the criterion domain should include objective, subjective, but also contextual performance. Okay, all three need to feed into it. So as we said, contextual performance, organizational citizenship behaviors, or pro-social organizational behaviors, or extra role behaviors, okay, clearly different, but certain things that might fall into this realm: conscientiousness, I like that, attention to details; altruism, sportsmanship, helping others, working as a team; civic virtue, I like that, civic virtue; courtesy, all right? They're real hard to quantify in many ways. And so 5 different dimensions according to whoever, Borman and Moltoido. Working with extra enthusiasm. Yay! Go team. Volunteering for things not formally part of the job. Yeah, that comes up all the time. So it's just like things need to be done. And I mean, sometimes, if I showed you the description, my job description, and then told you what I actually did, you'd see there was a lot of places where they don't match each other. And so I'm happy to do it. When they need somebody to go over to the advising center to do freshman advising, I'm happy to go over there if I have the free time to do so. And this is really what contextual performance is. It's not part of my job description to go advising over in the advising center, but it is something that does in fact support the university's mission. Okay? Helping others, okay? Sportsmanship, organizational courtesy. Meeting deadlines. Wow, I like that. Actually turning your stuff in on time. I know a few of my colleagues that don't do well on that. Okay, supporting the organization, defending the organization. I like it, defending the organization. So what's the difference between task performance and contextual performance? Task performance varies across jobs, okay? In each job, you have a different measure of task performance. If you're a car salesman, it's number of cars sold per month. If you're a university professor, it's, oh God, I don't know what it would be. It would be number of students that pass your course? I don't know, I'm trying to make it up. There isn't such a thing. But clearly, task activities differ, but contextual behaviors like courtesies and sportsmanship and its conscientiousness and etc. Hold across all jobs. Okay, all jobs. Look at this. This is an interesting distinction right here. Cognitive ability relates to task performance. Okay, and we're going to talk about using cognitive ability tests like IQ tests as part of a selection battery. That'll be an important thing. And personality factors are more likely to relate to contextual performance, all right? Politeness and things of this nature. Researchers have tried now to include these organizational citizenship behaviors into their selection instruments. But it's hard to do because by definition OCBs are hard to quantify. But they are incredibly important, okay? These OCBs, they create social capital. They enhance overall performance and effectiveness. There's no doubt that A department with high collegiality where people get along, help each other, work with each other is far better than a department that involves other stuff. So OCBs is a group level. Okay, a meta-analysis was done where they found there was a positive relationship, the correlation, a positive correlation between how many organizational citizenship behaviors and the performance of the group. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? The more organizational citizenship behavior, the higher output, the higher job performance, the higher, etc. Improved social processes, absolutely. And these organizational citizenship behaviors, as I said, they are relevant across all jobs. And in fact, as we see in this one thing at the bottom, they're also relevant cross-culturally. So being conscientious is not just helpful in an American context, but also in a European context in this case. Okay. Counterproductive work behaviors, on the other hand, are in a lot of ways the opposite of citizenship behaviors. They detract from the organization. They're not performance per se, okay? It's not like your job performance went down, but theft, okay? You steal enough staplers and it's going to hurt the bottom line of the corporation. Sabotage, abusing others, withdrawing, okay? And so they're not quantifiable in a I guess you could quantify number of staplers stolen per hour. Staplers stolen per hour, SSPH. All right, I just made that up. But the idea is, generally speaking, counterproductive work behaviors are not. They don't affect task performance per se. Okay. And we find counterproductive behaviors are more strongly related to individual performance than the courtesy behaviors, citizenship behaviors rather. And you can find that they can be exhibited by the same people, okay? Somebody can be conscientious and still, well, the word I think of when I think about these counterproductive work behaviors is like backbiting, okay? That is rumors about each other and snipping and not sharing information and etc. So these counterproductive work behaviors have a hugely negative impact. So now we've got some idea about criteria and what criteria are. And as we move forward, we're going to start to perhaps take these criteria and talk more specifically about, like, say, for example, selection decisions, okay? And clearly, in order to make selection decisions, we must have criteria. And now you have an idea of what they are.